Greetings,
Riddle.
loved one.
Hey, everybody.
April 15th, 2021.
Half a
Welcome
month is gone already.
to the Thursday Exchange. We have a great episode in store for you all tonight. The Thursday
What
Exchange,
was that noise?
that's just playback. We have some hot topics tonight. We're going to be going over addiction and all the causes and effects of addiction and what it has on people. And we have a wonderful special guest, Heather Blood. She's an actress, model, and singer. I know her pretty well. Should be a very entertaining
Worked with her
night.
twice now. She's good people.
Yes. So, the interesting, silly topics of the week before we get into the hard stuff.
Aha.
Bush's Beer offers $20,000 for a canine chief tasting officer to sample dog brew. Yes, you heard it. Dog brew. So
What's in
basically,
the brew?
yes. So it's an alcohol-free brew made from bone broth. Yes. So if you think your pupperoo has what it takes to be the new face of this dog brew, post a picture on social media to the hashtag Bush's CTO contest, and you just might have your pupperoo win 20 big ones.
Your dog might just have Bush.
Yes, without the Bush's Beer. There's some perks to this position too. You get some pet insurance, lifetime pet insurance,
If you want to pet the Bush.
free supply of dog brew. Listen, I don't drink beer, but people love it, and their dogs can love it too. They're, brewed dog.
What does
bone.
beer have to do with bone brew other than the company holding the competition?
It's pretty much just the company holding the competition.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
that's as simple as that.
Speaking of animals, two black bear cubs got a little curious the other day, and I forget which state was it in, North Carolina. On April 15th, they actually wandered into the front door of a North Carolina nursing home. They got them out, and people were safe, but can you imagine if you're like a person with dementia and a bear comes in?
Maybe you think, you've hit the crossroads.
Maybe you think it's another Tuesday. I don't know.
Listen, there's some crazy stuff that goes on in those homes, and
No, I worked there.
me too. You never know.
There were days where you walk in and you'd be like, "Hi, honey, how are you? You're sweet." Next day, you'd be like, "You son of a bitch!" It's like, oh, who are you?
And this is in no way making simplicity out of these circumstances, but
No,
geez.
not at all. But there are days where you walk in and you're like, "What is that? Who am I talking to today?"
Exactly. So, pizza, anyone? Domino's. Domino's is testing out their delivery robot in Texas.
Oh no!
Contact-free delivery. Okay, so COVID is once again transforming another industry and eliminating drivers now.
It was bad enough when they had like the robots in the supermarket roaming around at nighttime. That's creepy enough at Stop and Shop.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? It's really scary because, people think about like Terminator and how like the future is going to be these giant robots taking over the world. Well, they might not be taking over the world in that fashion, but they're definitely going to be taking your job.
Well, let's put it this way. Everybody thought the pandemic was a great topic of movie, subject and miniseries and Netflix series and for years now. And yet we had a pandemic and we followed every single thing that they do wrong in those shows to the letter.
Exactly. I mean,
so if Terminator's real, we're freaking screwed.
That's where science fiction gets twisted. Like we're thinking of like Terminator, like explosions and robots and like genocide. Realistically, the future is going to be McDonald's with 0 employees and just robots making your burgers. And they already have their order, their menu kiosk that you order your shit that the employees actually never get it right. It probably would be right had a robot been doing it the whole time. But it's messed up to say, but I guess that's what you get for paying people minimum wage or underpaying them.
What do you think about the new double lines that they have at all the drive-through, where it kind of splits off into two sections?
I feel like it's the Fast and the Furious.
Does it
Whoever-
actually save time? Because I feel like I'm on the line.
Let me tell you something. This is a total subtopic within a topic. Do you know how many times that I'm in the drive-through at Mickey D's that have the split drive-throughs, and I accidentally get someone else's meal, which happens to be way more than mine? Don't know how
I've
it
never
happened.
had that happen.
Well, a lot of
I've had
times,
stuff missing out of my meal.
well, that happens too. But whenever I happen to go, veer right, I end up with like an extra cheeseburger in my bag. I guess it's the little things I should appreciate about life in that moment, just like that.
The fact that you could afford to buy McDonald's, I guess, is
The little things. Eating.
Onwards.
No, I'm not that depressed, people. I have a very fruitful life.
So you want somebody who's having a really good day? There's a woman who won. How much was it? 100,000, or she won $200,000 scratch-off lottery ticket jackpot in North Carolina. It's actually a man, not a woman. I apologize. And basically, what happens was he was waiting for his prescription, and he decided to close his eyes and choose out a lotto ticket at random. And the one he chose won him $200,000.
Wow! You want to hear another story?
I didn't get it.
Similar to that story, a nagging wife nagging her husband to do errands and pick up some dish soap. He just won't do the gosh darn dishes. So her husband goes out to get some dish soap. Out of fury, he uses spare change to buy a lottery ticket. He wins $1 million in Virginia. I don't know. That's like the.
Do we need to move south?
That's what it seems like. Is this like all a publicity stunt to like buy their lottery tickets? Because like I know in New York, whenever I buy like a whole line of scratch offs or the lottery, I win jack shit nothing.
Yep. And let me make a correction. It was a woman, and it was 100,000. I was reading the line right below it because I'm special like that.
So here's the thing: does this man stay with his nagging wife, or does he take his 1 million buckaroos and have the time?
Does she do anything else other than nag? Like, does she got any good qualities?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was like destiny. It was destiny for him to have a nagging wife to send him out to the store.
Be like, I have money now. Shut up.
In other news, today, for those of you who are history buffs, today is the anniversary of the Titanic tragedy. April 15th, 1912. 1,500 out of over 2,000 passengers lost their lives when the Titanic hit that iceberg. Everyone's seen the movie. I can't imagine it.
I'll never let go, Jack. I'll never.
Yes. It had to be a tragedy of giant proportions. And now they're trying to, like, I guess, remake the Titanic.
What?
Yeah, like
Wait,
they're
like
making
a ship or the movie?
No, not the movie. They're trying to replicate the actual ship. I'm just fearful for today's standards that wouldn't hold up too well.
I mean, they would have to trick it out to fit. I mean, they couldn't have the same number of lifeboats, obviously.
You just, I can't say the word too soon because I don't think anyone from that time period is still around. But damn, never.
I mean,
B.J. Booth, you've never saw that movie? Where have you been, man?
Never heard of it.
It's a classic. Titanic is a classic. Leonardo DiCaprio, that was when he had he was charming and cute back then. Now he plays always like I don't know.
But would you say B.J. Booth?
No, it's someone speaking to us tonight.
Oh, sorry.
It's someone watching our show.
I'm like, wait, I don't get it.
So in heavier topics this week, as we always do, we like to hit you up with the light stuff and then get right into the real deal. So Johnson & Johnson, the COVID-19 vaccine paused. Thousands of appointments canceled around the U.S., halting basically there's been rare blood clot disorders emerging in women
Oops.
who have received the vaccine. Now, the number of people is very low that have had these blood clot issues. However, it definitely is a safety concern for many. Blood clots could lead to stroke, heart attack,
Pulmonary embolism.
you know what I'm saying? So it is a major concern. And a lot of employers are kind of requiring the vaccine to be taken. They're pushing the vaccine heavily. If you don't get the vaccine in many places, you're going to have to wear a double mask soon. You're going to have to wear a mask and a shield. So with that said, they're pushing vaccines or a vaccine that possibly may not be safe.
I mean, the thing that you don't really take into account until you get your first shot, which I got mine on Monday for the Moderna one. And I'm not going to lie, I had some nervousness about it because, I mean, all I had so far is like some soreness in the arm. We'll see what happens on the second one. But they make you sign a waiver saying that, you know, this is a non-FDA approved drug, that you are essentially part of the trial.
Yeah.
And it says that on your like acknowledgement waiver. So it's like, oh, I'm volunteering for human trials. Okay, cool.
I mean, the whole thing is I've always been in the middle of the road with this issue. I personally do not have the vaccine. I wear my mask, I social distance, I clean my hands. I'm very nervous. I typically don't take the flu shot. I'm that type of person. Call me what you may, blame me, point the fingers, whatever you got to do. But I do not judge people who take their vaccine. I never have. But these are the concerns that I had to taking them because, hey, I want to be a part of the solution. I want to save lives. I don't want to hurt anybody. But things like this is why I was worried about taking it.
Yeah, when this comes out 2 days after you get your shot, and you're like, oh, granted, it's a different vaccine, but it's like, oh, fuck.
And this is why, and this is why I feel this way. I mean, personally, in my mind, I feel like, you know, within the 9 months or 10 months that they came to create it, it wasn't long enough, in my opinion. I need some long-term research. I need some human trials that people volunteered to take. And that's just me. That's me personally. Do I judge anyone that has taken it? No. But myself and millions of other people are coming out and they're having the same concern. So I'm wondering if this has kind of tainted a little bit of public trust.
It has. That and the whole Alex Jones thing that came out like a week ago, like he's ranting and raving, saying that they're like just every conspiracy theory that goes around the vaccines.
Unlike many people, I don't believe that the faults of the vaccine are a conspiracy to hurt us and kill us all. That's not what I think. I think they're human error that they just don't have enough research behind.
You're reprogramming the DNA in the cell to create antibodies for a substance that it has not yet actually had an exposure to. So you're reprogramming genetic code using a virus, like an inert virus, to deliver it into your cells, as far as I understand. Like, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I heard. And but either way, like, you're changing your genetic makeup, so it concerns me.
Yeah, it's just, that's just part of the thing. But you know what I mean? Like I said, with this coming out now, people are starting to worry about the other vaccines and, you know, the long-term effects of even Moderna, Pfizer. They're worried about those two because, you know, Johnson & Johnson, you know, people are saying they can't get their baby powder right. And here they are pumping out drugs. But yeah, but listen, I think it's a big discussion. I think in the following months, we're going to see a lot more pros and cons of the vaccine. I mean, with anything new medication on the market, there's going to be side effects. And unfortunately I think it's 6 women who had these major blood clotting issues. You're talking about 6 women out of how many hundreds of thousands who have received the vaccine.
Yeah.
But there's other people who have been sick and had other type of side effects as well.
And it's true, because every medication that you have, you're going to have some of them that are going to impact you differently. Like, and there are some people that no matter what medication or substance or chemical it is, their body just reacts like some sort of like psycho from hell, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know. I know people who, no matter what they take, they have a reaction.
You know,
it's like,
dude, like some people have a low tolerance for medications. Let me just tell you about me. People have a bad backache or something someday, or have a bad headache, and people are like, just take a Tylenol, an extra strength or something like that. I feel like I knock out. It affects
Really?
me. It really affects me in a different type of way. Like
Yeah, I believe it.
light medic. Like I just don't take medications like that. I have a holistic approach on a lot of things I do. Drink water, do stretches, meditate. I mean, a lot of times I'll take a medication and it will literally knock me out, and I'll feel like I have a hangover the next day.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
what it is.
I'm
Low
on a number of
tolerance.
medications myself on a daily basis. I'm always looking for natural alternatives because it's like, first of all, just changing the way I eat makes a huge difference in how I feel. In addition to like losing weight, but like I'm excited now that it's getting warm out because I'm going to start eating a lot more fresh veggies that I'm growing and everything. And it's like when I was doing that last year, the difference in health that I felt compared to over the winter when I was eating mostly stuff that I bought in the store, it was significant.
Absolutely. So BJ, I'm going to respond to you there. You're talking about painkillers make you itchy. Oh my God. I don't know.
It
I,
makes
I
me
had
nauseous.
I had an infection. I took an amoxicillin. I'm telling you right now, I felt like I had bugs crawling in my skin,
That's an antibiotic.
or antibiotic, whatever. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
No, in the springtime I had an injury from a sled riding accident, and they gave me a muscle relaxer, which I took that night. And the next morning I got up to go for a walk, and I was sitting at the top of the steps putting my shoes on, and because of the medicine, I got dizzy and fell down the stairs. Yeah, while sitting.
You sure you just weren't being clumsy?
No, that one was straight up like doped out from a muscle relaxer, which I don't take anymore.
Yeah. So another major story this week. This is probably the bigger of the two. Joe Biden plans to withdraw virtually all U.S. troops from Afghanistan by September 11th, ending the longest war in U.S. history. So
I'm going to say round 5 is this now? How many times have we pulled out?
Well, this is entirely. And, even with us saying we're pulling out, there's still a lot of troops that are left behind. There's a lot of concerns about this. A lot of veterans of the Afghanistan war feel torn over this pullout.
Yeah.
They're wondering, like, it's kind of like the whole Vietnam type thing, which this is a lot longer of a war than Vietnam was. I mean, this is 20. People don't realize it because it's not talked about anymore.
No.
It's not publicized. So 20 years have been going on, and there's been like active wars,
and the loss of life comparatively. I mean, if you think about it, because of the advancement of our military compared to some others, if you're going into a country with a full-on technological army, air force, sea force, everything, plus special ops, and you go in and you wipe this country out, the loss of life on their side is going to be astronomically higher just by the sheer nature of how war works. So, like, what we're hearing also is like, we're hearing our side of the story also. We're not hearing all the people that are, having doors kicked in, being bombed, or having stuff for 20 years.
The whole idea here is with the Afghanistan war was it worth it? Was our interest overseas worth it? A lot of people want to say it's for oil, other special interests we have over there in their countries, to try to it was our duty to have the Middle East think the way we do, live their life the way we do. So
it was our duty to secure natural resources without getting yelled at by our own people by digging up our own land.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about back in the Bush years where, we were over there, going to Iran, everywhere, trying to find weapons of mass destruction that they didn't find, spending countless dollars that, in my opinion, like, listen, I'm not afraid to speak my opinion, and we all have them. Could have went to other things, like maybe our education of our people, our national debt that we
prevented
were talking
some
about
of the crap that we're into now.
Our infrastructure that's crumbling.
That we now need to pass a bill for how many $1 trillion to make up for because we didn't maintain it.
A lot of people don't realize, too, that a lot of times when we pull out troops and we pull out of these countries that we're fighting in, we end up pulling out, leaving all of our multi-million-dollar equipment, our tanks, our weapons over there. And
bases.
And guess who ends up utilizing that? The terrorists that we were fighting. Al-Qaeda.
And the ones that we arm in order to help us as allies. Once they start taking control, they end up doing the same thing in return because they want revenge.
So all in all, this could be a good thing, possibly, but we will wait and see. We'll see if it actually happens and it passes where the troops finally come home. Over the past 20 years, there's been over 800,000 troops in Afghanistan.
Think how many, so that's 800,000 people. How many memories, how many cases of trauma, how many cases of just emotional distress people have to go through thinking about that in the future, PTSD or whatever it is. Like some people don't, God bless them, they don't get it, but they're not unaffected by it either. You see some pretty gnarly shit over there.
Back when I was in college, I took a Western civilization class, and we learned a terminology, basically a word, Weltanschauung, which meant world that's showing. And no matter which view of the world you see, it's basically see something from a different point of view. And we're there for one reason, yet think about all the lives that were affected over there, that we were kind of in their way, policing their country. So I always want to think like that.
We're the white devils, basically.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that, but it's like we get ourselves involved in foreign affairs, and a lot of times we want to compare ourselves to countries that kind of like are isolationists that are doing much better fiscally, that can take care of their people, but we're over there being like heroes that weren't asked to be. And to me, I don't want to say like it's conspiracy as far as why we're there, but there's got to be another real reason, and it has nothing to do with
the real reason is that war is profitable. War is profitable.
Not for the taxpayers, it's not.
No, it's not. But for the people who are waging the wars, the contractors who are hiring on as private, basically mercenaries, because we don't have enough. We're not doing like a draft or anything like that. So they got to get their fighters from somewhere, and they're contractors. So if you have a highly trained, mostly ex-special forces group of men willing to go over there for money and fight under the name of a government contract, it's kind of interesting how that works. And then you have I think the thing that gets me about it is that you spend all this money and you put all these resources into it, and when you pull out, it's like kicking a hornet's nest and expecting that they're not going to come after you afterwards or try to fill in the gap and sting whatever it is that kicked them. Like there are repercussions, whether or not that's an attack, whether or not that's foreign relation problem. But we also put ourselves into a bit of a sticky situation, though, because like right now with China, for example, FBI reported 10 new investigations into Chinese government related cases a day. Yeah, like that's insane. Like the statistics on it are insane. How many investigations we have open against them, because they're, let's face it, or not, whether we like it or not, they're our biggest economic and military and everything competitor right now. And we are in a situation where tensions are getting higher because Taiwan wants independence. We support independence, so we signed a treaty with Taiwan saying everything short of like war. But then what happens if China does invade? Do we just let it happen? Are we able to call ourselves the country that, holds up their end of the bargain, or do we sit by and watch like we currently are doing with the Uyghur situation? Unfortunately,
we'll find out, but I truly believe it's going to come down to money and who has the better, on who, like, for example, our economy and China's together are, they're one and the same. They're a balancing act. Yeah. So if we do well, they do well. If we do poorly, they do poorly. So Taiwan might be out of luck with what side, we're turning a blind eye to. So
we need to be careful who we make treaties to protect.
Listen, I'm a nationalist. I believe in this country, and I want the best for it. But like I said before, keep your politicians accountable. Know your history. Know your facts. Do your research, because the point of this podcast isn't to bash any sort of rationale. I'm sure, Stefan and I could speak for you, because I know you're a patriot like I, and you love this country, that we support our troops and them fighting for our country. But, when we're coming off the heels of a 20-year war, we have to kind of, any individual has to sit back and say, was this worth our time? Did we make an impact in the world? Was it a positive impact? Because if not, there could be another war. That's another 20-year war. I mean,
it becomes a financial model.
Yeah.
Our country's running low on money. Let's borrow it or burn something.
Yeah. So with that, that's the major topic. The major topics I have. You have anything else before we go into the?
I believe we covered most of it.
So
I think we're...
Another quick one just in there. Actually, Chaz just brought it off. Bernie Madoff had passed at 82 years old in prison. Now, good riddance, Bernie Madoff. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, and I'm sure you made some sort of penance on your way out. But think of all the lives he did with his Ponzi scheme where he ruined people's lives, their retirements. This guy was living large on other people's dime. And some of those people never got their money back. Their life savings entirely.
A lot of those people didn't.
Their life savings entirely extinguished. And another person I'd like to bring up because it's about the topic tonight is, the passing of DMX. Cardiac arrest. They said it was a drug overdose. Now they're trying to turn it. I've been hearing other stories that it was something to do with after he took the vaccine, which I don't know if that's just, false information. But
I mean, the guy's had a drug problem for years. It's
and he has admitted to the drug problem and how it's been the demon over his shoulder his whole life, and how it was something that he just couldn't kick the habit. He had done time behind bars. There's just been many issues where he just couldn't get past the habit. And I think his ultimate legacy will be his 15 children that he left behind, his music that we will continue to play and get
soundtrack of the 90s.
Exactly. And on top of that, he was really poetic and talented artist. And, a lot of people are like, oh, you don't know the DMX. I'm like, listen, I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, and DMX was the shit. I mean, if you're from New York, DMX was the shit. Yeah.
Brothers go.
Yeah, man.
Yes, but I'm not a rapper.
No. But beyond all that, man, his stuff too is very thought-provoking, very spiritual. A lot of people know him for the anthems, but if
some of his hits are pretty hard-hitting though too. I had to stop listening to him after a while. Just like with Eminem and a lot of the other hardcore rappers, I don't like to listen to negative stuff too often, even if it sounds amazing. Because let's face it, I love their music, but watching it and listening to it over and over and over, it's like programming your mind to be pissed off.
Well, it is too, but I mean, I listened to an interview that DMX had done, and actually while he was incarcerated, and he spoke about the balance of his music and how every album was kind of balanced. I mean, he had a gospel track on each of his albums,
which I always was like, huh?
Yeah, he had a gospel track on each of his albums, but as well as a conversation with both God and the devil, to show how your thoughts and your temptations kind of lead you. And I think it's important to talk about this, given the fact that tonight we're talking about addiction, and we lost a legend this week to an addiction, which is really unfortunate. He was only 50 years old, and he could have been coming out with even more music that we can love and enjoy.
And it's something that affects millions of people around the world, probably billions. I mean, addiction is not necessarily just crack or cocaine. I mean, addiction can be any number of things, from alcohol, which I personally went through that for a little while, and luckily I've been clean from that for years now, for I think almost 11 years. But I started going down that road, and it's scary how quickly it can progress if you don't pay attention. It's hard.
Yeah.
And the thing that is also going on is that one of the biggest support networks that was available in the world is AANA, Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous. And while now they are offering online Zoom meeting kind of things, which they have some degree of effectiveness, I think. It's better than nothing. For a good period of time, there weren't any meetings, and these people lost their only support network. and it's staggering how much of a hit we took last year.
Yeah, you got to think about how special interest money and things like public, basically community money was entirely vanquished. A lot of these programs were gone, facilities were closed, and they're just starting to reopen now. But people are still fearful of catching the virus. So, and a lot of people aren't as like, we think because we grew up in this generation that everybody is very tech savvy. People have smartphones and stuff, and the world is slowly evolving. Yet at the same time, there's a lot of people who don't know the first thing about a Zoom meeting or StreamYard or any of this type of stuff that, going live, that they're learning how to do. I mean, it's a generational thing. People in their 40s, 50s, and up, that have these problems, that might be a little bit less accessible than it is for someone our age, like in their 30s or younger. I mean, this would be, tell me to go on Zoom. Okay, simple. But
I'm like my mom, like I'm proud of her, like how far she's come. Like a few years back when I was in college, I literally had to send her a message one time because I had laryngitis for 2 months. Turns out I had acid reflux burning a hole in my vocal cord. Surprise. I didn't feel any heartburn, so I didn't know. But I called her up. I'm like, Mom, you're going to have to learn how to text if you want to talk to your son. And like that was when she started learning text message. But I remember when the cell phones first came out, like people would leave them at home because they didn't know, like, oh, I'm supposed to bring this with me. Like, just it's a learning curve.
Absolutely. Before we get too deep into the addiction thing that we just stemmed off of from the DMX conversation, Autism Awareness Month. Like I said, this is a subject that is I'm very passionate about this month. It's been a career of choice, like I said, for over 10 years. And there's a lot of facts that I think people don't know that I think we should, inform the world. Autism affects 1 in 68 children. Boys are 5 times more likely than girls to be diagnosed. Autism is one of the fastest growing disorders in our country. It's more common than childhood cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined.
Is it becoming more prevalent, or is it becoming just more widely recognized as an actual issue?
It's becoming like a fast and growing thing, I guess. Like there's more cases as, children are being born. A lot of people are realizing that their child has like speech difficulties after the age of 4, that they're realizing
such a hard
now.
disorder to treat because, like, they call it a spectrum for a reason because there are so many variations on the symptoms.
I think also too, from a lot of research that I've read, is that a lot of people had autism. They were on the spectrum, autism spectrum disorder, yet they were never diagnosed because we are learning. And as we were learning, there's a lot of kids that might have been in remedial classes in, high school or middle school, but there was a lot of brilliant kids too, who might've been a little socially awkward, who unknowingly might've been on the spectrum as well. But now that
characters in movies that we used to have as the funny office guy, like, where's my stapler? Where's my stapler? Maybe he had autism. Who knows?
There is no current cure for the autism spectrum disorder.
And apologies if that sounded rude.
No. Individuals with autism spectrum disorder have communication deficits. They don't communicate like you and I sometimes. Sometimes there is no verbal communication. They could be repetitive, a lot of things like that. And a lot of like the misconception too is being nonverbal at the age of 4 years old with the autism spectrum disorder does not necessarily mean they will never speak.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're surprised with someone with autism asks for something that you never even knew they knew how to talk.
One of the residents used to take care of, like, I didn't think he could talk until one time he just started talking. He goes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. I'm like, you could talk?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
He didn't choose to talk. So it's our obligation to be patient and try to communicate on their level, because a lot of these people are brilliant. And when I say that, I'm going to tell you a few celebrities and well-known people out there that you wouldn't typically believe were on this autistic spectrum disorder or were believed to be for the time. Albert Einstein.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, Albert Einstein experienced delays and educational slowness. You know, he wasn't. It took
He was
years.
considered an idiot by his teacher for most of his young childhood.
Yeah, and not being able to speak correctly, and they believed he was on the spectrum. Charles Darwin, Isaac Newton, Mozart, Courtney Love of the band Hole, who was married to Kurt Cobain. She was diagnosed with a mild case of autism as a child. Daryl Hannah, I don't know if you guys remember, what was the movie? Help me, audience, help me. Daryl Hannah, she was in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Yep. She was really hot. She was fighting with a sword. Sweet. Andy Warhol, the famous artist.
She's hot.
Oh my God. My fiance just punched me because I said she's hot. She's
Well,
a
she
celebrity.
is.
Yeah, so like these are the people you would never believe were on the spectrum of some level, that, you know, everyday people, they had challenges they overcame. It's good to kind of diagnose young, because then there's more treatments that can be done to help them.
And I think
cope
it's a
with the
much
world
more
around them.
widely recognized now, so people are more accepting of it as well. Because back in the day, like, I mean, let's look at the terms that people used to use. They used to use for people who had any kind of mental disability, like, oh, that person's a moron or an idiot or an imbecile. Like, that was the clinical medical terms that they were using to refer to people, when in reality, they may have been completely genius.
Well, to speak on their behalf, either way, is that was just basically public correctness. Like, now there's a different word to mean the same thing. It might be a politer terminology, but back then that was their polite way of outcasting.
Yeah.
And I think we've come a long way, but like I said, there's still a long way for us to go when it comes to dealing with people with developmental disabilities. Quite often, these are people that don't speak on behalf of their mistreatment. So when you see something
that you would notice normally if somebody has autism, just in general.
Well, the main thing is speech, being able to communicate effectively, not communicating at all, limited vocabulary. There's so many things. There's so many different variations, because now everything's like, autism spectrum disorder, like, severe, mild, but before there was like things like Asperger's on there and other different things, but now it's kind of all under the umbrella. So,
it's definitely it's fascinating, because like when you look at like some of the talents that they have, like that list of people that you just had, all but one were scientists, like major world changing, life changing, philosophy changing scientists thinking outside the box.
Charles Darwin. I mean, Darwin's theory,
I mean, Isaac Newton, gravity, like
this is what it's like with Isaac, with Darwin, Isaac Newton, Mozart. They were probably, like when these people were listed, they were believed to be autistic on the spectrum. Like no one was over there. Like they had the same, social cues and awkwardness and, scores that
quite likely,
you know what I mean? So there wasn't no one diagnosing them typically at that time. But like I said, Courtney Love and Daryl Hannah, Andy Warhol, they were all on the spectrum.
Andy Warhol, his art is, you either love it or you hate it. I'm more on the loving it side. There are some of them that are really weird, but you can see it's a different way of looking at the world. It's a different way of being creative, and it showed itself through his art.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Warhol, like when they say the reason why he was believed to be on the spectrum is he would always take the path of limited words. I don't know if that was like, people thought for the longest time that Andy Warhol was very arrogant and stuck up, but it was like limited vocabularies and words like yes, no, stuff like that. So I don't want to get too deep into it, but like you guys know, very brilliant, talented artist on the spectrum. If you guys didn't know, I read something out there that even Jerry Seinfeld believed at one point, which I found it hard to believe that Jerry Seinfeld was also on the spectrum in his younger years. He believed to have some sort of learning disability.
Did he step off of the spectrum? I didn't think
no, I mean, I think it's more of like learning how to cope. And
yeah, I know they have like classes now, like life skills and things like that to help you to learn how to.
That one out there was like I read it on a few different things, and I necessarily didn't believe it, so I didn't really put it on the list. But I wanted to throw it out there if anyone else wants to do the research on it. You're welcome to it, because we're still going to talk about this for another few weeks. So addictions in America, people. Addictions. Whenever we think of addictions, we all focus on the main ones. Drugs. Ice cream. Yes, ice cream. We all think of drugs and alcohol. That's the things that we typically, they're bad, drugs and alcohol. Yes, they are. And they could, to a certain extent. But when we think about addictions, we're covering a whole, just like the spectrum disorder. Every one of us on this show tonight watching has some form of an addiction, whether you want to believe so or not.
Essentially a habit that involves something outside of yourself.
And that also could have negative indications. I mean, think about it. How many of us are on our phones for hours a day? And then at the end, like you could check that little thing on your phone that says how many hours were you on Facebook? How many hours were you texting or talking on the phone? And it just shows like a majority of your day. Sometimes it's even more than the hours of sleep you had the night you were on the phone.
Yeah, that's quite frequent. Yeah, like especially if you're somebody who has trouble sleeping normally, and a lot of those usage hours are quite often, I'll be honest, like it's stuff playing in the background. Like I'm not actually looking at the screen, but how many of us have sore necks from walking around like this, looking at our phones all day long?
A lot of the products I've been seeing too, like when you just said that, I guarantee after the show, I'm going to see 20 different neck stretchers that are allowing you to be on your phone even longer, but with a device that you could lean back on that could strap
they have
around
those
your neck.
wire things that you hang around. Like I bought one of them once, thinking just curious to see how it would work, and I was like, I feel like a complete fool.
Yeah, so like I'm saying, like that in itself, you know what I mean? Like there's no end game. Like people, even when they're in bed, they're checking their phone, and that's just a small thing. Things like caffeine. Like me, I believe I'm addicted to caffeine. I don't drink coffee, but I love soda. Like when I drink soda,
worse than crack.
Yeah, like there we go. And I'm saying like
caffeine to sugar and a little bit of salt too. Oh, it's like the triumvirate. And that was
it really
triumvirate.
Triumvirate. That's the word of the day. Triumvirate.
There's no N on the end.
Okay. So alcohol is the most regularly used addictive substance in America. 1 in every 12 adults suffer from alcohol abuse.
And unfortunately, it tastes good.
Well, to you. See, I'm lucky enough. I'm lucky enough that I've never liked the taste of alcohol. But I could tell you right now that I've known more alcoholics in my life than anyone else when it comes to addictions. It is a dangerous, addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can count so many people I've known and cared about who've been in fatal car accidents due to drinking, and how many families have been marriages destroyed, families destroyed over alcohol addiction.
I count my blessings every day because, I was on my way to probably getting into a car accident or something like that pretty soon, and it's such a weird thing that people have to deal with. It really is. It's very. I didn't want to cut you off. Sorry. It's very complex. There's a lot in it.
No, I totally agree. There's so many complexity of the reasons why we do it, and a lot of times it starts off as a social thing. You're doing it with friends,
Makes it a little easier to talk to the girls.
Yeah, absolutely, it's fun, and then once it becomes a habit by yourself, it turns into a fun thing to a very sad and tragic thing. When you're sitting alone, you're sitting alone in your room. And I think a lot of these drugs are the same way. they started off, I can't speak for everyone, but I don't know if anyone the first time they did heroin or cocaine, they were doing it by themselves.
Yeah.
But they started off in a group atmosphere, and then, the friends moved on or did other things or whatever. And you got stuck doing it now by yourself, alone. And it
And
ruins
that's why I'm
families.
terrified of those kind of drugs, like freaking cocaine. Like I saw it come out at a party one time, and I was like, oh, okay, gotta go. Because being somebody who's always tired, the promise of something that'll wake you up is like, so like I run out of the room if I see that crap because it's not. It's a bad situation, man. And
Yeah,
then once you start doing that, you end up getting multiple addictions usually because you're trying to take the edge off of one or pick yourself off of another. It ends up becoming like a chemical cocktail.
well, it's interesting now because we were just talking, like, was it last week or the week before? We were talking about how marijuana legal in New York State, and like, for years, marijuana has been demonized as the gateway drug. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Now that if this is easily accessible, is this a good thing?
I don't know that it's easily accessible any more than it was before because let's look at it. Like, yes, you have dispensaries. It is recreational, available. They're
Decriminalized.
So, and it's not available yet in the dispensaries. I don't think recreationally. I think that's a couple months down the line. But I haven't been paying attention over the past week, so I don't know. In terms of like that particular issue, but I personally don't have a problem with it. Because I know there's so many people who are in prison or who have been harassed by cops or have gotten traffic tickets or UPMs, I should say, for unlawful possession of marijuana. All of that's money, all of that's time, all of that's resources that's wasted off of something that is largely a healthy plant if used in moderation. And while I don't think it has physical addictive components unless you do a massive amount of it. I think emotionally, just like caffeine or like sugar, like anything that you use as a crutch, in that sense, it does become addictive because it's a way to escape whatever present state you're feeling. Whether you want to change the way you feel, go exercise or smoke a joint. I mean, they will both change how you feel. But do I think it's going to make you a crackhead? No. I think that's something that's built into you.
I think with marijuana, I think there's a lot more positive attributes than there are negative. I personally don't smoke. I don't like it. But I know very functional people that smoke every day, all day long. Do I agree with them smoking all day long? No. I think it's bad. I think it's bad for your lungs and everything else.
Well, that's the other concern, yeah.
That's the concerning medical negativities. I believe all that smoke inhalation will be bad for you. But at the end of the day, it's your personal choice. Do I think that you smoking a joint is going to cause you to like wreak havoc on society? Absolutely not.
No, but can it also be a problematic thing as well? Like even for somebody who does handle themselves with it well enough, if you don't know which weed you're getting, there are different types. There are some that make you very awake, and there are some that will knock you out, and you'll miss an appointment or something if you take it. Like you have to take all of that into account.
When you think of the effects, when we're talking about addictions on a scale of drug usage, what's more dangerous to you? Smoking any form of marijuana, like any plant, any strain, or getting drunk?
Getting drunk.
There you go. It's the same type of thing, like with moderation.
And I can say that as a former alcoholic or recovered, whatever you want to title you want to give it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, why is one demonized and not the other? So, with that addiction, I mean, it's an addiction nonetheless. And I think people need to moderate themselves and think of other obligations because, like I said, with your lungs and everything else, but who am I to judge?
And also your time. Like, if you want to accomplish something, like, I'll be honest, I enjoy it. But if I'm wanting to get something done, am I really going to be very wise if I smoke before starting? Because guess what? You're going to be real lazy afterwards.
And it affects everybody differently.
Yeah.
I know people who like, let's go back a little bit. Michael Phelps, Olympic medalist.
Bada bing.
There you go. the dude was winning championships swimming, and a dude was like a certified
Smoking a Chiba.
stoner. So,
He was
like,
smoking a Chiba.
so you know what I mean? Like,
He had a bong.
and
The nerve.
you know what I mean? Like, but that's just one of the things we're talking like, and we're kind of like, in a way, we're subcategorizing addiction to just drugs.
However, there is something also about the marijuana that I just want to throw in there before we move on. Is if you are under the age of like 21, your brain is still technically developing. You're not a fully formed human yet. You may never get there. I don't know. It depends on the person. But if you start smoking at a young age, you have risk of doing damage in terms of some of the psychological impacts of it. They've shown studies that indicate that it has long-reaching effects. Why can't I talk today?
Maybe we're smoking the reefer.
No, I wasn't. But it just let's move. Oh, edibles. People who have schizophrenia or things like that, or psychotic tendencies, have been shown at times to have psychotic breaks when they get extremely high potent edibles or extremely high potent smoke, because it people with that propensity can be susceptible to that. So there is risk in it. It's not 100% safe.
Yeah. I mean, when we think about addictions, and like we said before, one of the major ones too is food addiction. America is it is the most obese, country in the world. We live our life under the idea of supersize me. You remember that documentary film that came out a few years ago where everything
was my
like
life a few years ago.
Mega big. And I can relate. I was a lot heavier at one point. I love my food, and we never get enough. And sometimes I'm eating and I'm thinking about the next meal right afterwards. Like right now, I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat after this podcast without thinking about the health, issues I may have later.
Of eating at 9 o'clock at night. And guess what? My dinner time, as horrible as it is, quite often is around 9 o'clock at night, just because that's just what it ends up happening. But is that healthy? No.
A fun fact, I think, well, not really a fun fact, but a really scary fact, really wake up. Americans consume 80% of all prescription pills globally. Think about that. Americans consume 80% of all prescription pills globally.
And we have one of the best healthcare systems, and yet we are one of the most unhealthy countries.
Well, when you think of that, you're thinking about how prescription drugs are being pumped out, and take a pill for this, take a pill for that. And people end up getting hooked, and they build a tolerance. They need more to have the same effect.
And some medications are good. Like I have a couple of maintenance medications that I take for my personal health issues that I have throughout my life. And they help. They have good results. Are there side effects? Probably. Find out.
Another fact, prescription drugs have a higher fatality rate than illegal drugs.
Yeah, I mean, look at fentanyl. You need a speck the size of like a grain of sugar to kill like 10 people.
It was crazy. My father had a major corrective back surgery, and they had the fentanyl, and it was locked. When I tell, well, no, it wasn't a patch. It was like in like whatever, but it was locked up, like with a drip. But it was locked up like you wouldn't believe. Like you would think that there was like diamonds in there. Like,
There is.
It looked like the Federal Reserve or something. It was so lock and key. Double
you need
locked.
this much heroin to get the impact of a speck of fentanyl. And you mix them together, and all of a sudden you have chemical cocktail horror stories.
Mm-hmm. According to statistics, most addicts work for a living. There's a nasty stereotype about people that are drug addicts or an addict in general, that they're homeless, unemployed, they're bums, crackheads creating mayhem,
I mean, all like those things have happened, but
they are. But it's like any type of stereotype. It's blown up out of proportion. A lot of people that are addicts are working people. Like, somebody that had back pain, severe back pain, that the prescription pills aren't working, and they're going to get more to, they're an active living addict. And yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, how's this in terms of prescribing practices? I'm going to be going for a shoulder surgery at some point over the next few months. I've already received the prescription for the hydrocodone.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I haven't picked it up. I'm not going to unless I absolutely need it, because the stuff makes me sick, makes me throw up. But just the fact that you're giving me a full supply of hydrocodone before you even had the procedure that requires the hydrocodone, that's an issue.
Well, see, even in terms of that, there was times in this country that there were major drugs that were perfectly legal that, right now we're looking at like as a total taboo and like, don't do that. There was a time that, heroin was a cough suppressant.
Yeah.
I mean, people were doing cocaine and
it also goes full circle. Like you have LSD, psilocybin, any of the hallucinogens, MDMA, ecstasy, Special K, all of those ones in that group are now being shown that the research they started back in the 70s when they were discovered about how it has possible like real mental health benefits if used in a certain way, that research was all dropped and stopped up until recently. And now that they're starting to open their eyes about it a little bit, they're realizing, wait a second, maybe this one shouldn't be a class 1 substance because there are actual uses for it.
Well, like I said before, some of the stuff that, like, the demonization of marijuana and even alcohol at one point was illegal.
Marijuana is considered federally worse than cocaine in terms of like classification.
Well, they're classifying it as how many people are incarcerated, and they have to justify that. I mean, when we were talking in previous episodes of how there's systemic racism, they have to justify why there's so many people incarcerated. Well, let's make marijuana a higher crime because they had a higher weight.
And you can smell it from a distance, so it's easier to point it out on people too.
There you go. And it lasts in your system for 30 days or more, depending if they get a hair follicle. Yeah. So, but mind this, if you know somebody who has an addiction or is addicted to something, you need to say something to them. You need to have a conversation with them. And it doesn't have to be just drugs.
Yeah.
We're all, like I said, we're all faulty of it. Like, I don't know how much time I spend on my computer or on the internet or just
my phone,
wasting time. And like, I try to be as productive as possible. And I utilize the internet to the best of my abilities. But you know how many times I find myself on YouTube addicted, just scrolling through like endless channels, and I lose myself from doing what I
love listening to podcasts, and I love listening to long form.
No, I want you guys all to be addicted to our podcast. I want you to be addicted to us.
Yes, we're okay to be addicted to. But no, like seriously, like I sometimes have to tell myself, like, turn the freaking phone off. You don't need to have a soundtrack to your life.
I think what it is about balance. And that's what I'm really trying to get at here. I'm not telling people to go out and do heroin, be balanced with that.
You're not telling them.
No, I'm not telling you to do that. Don't do it. But what I want you guys to do is, have a balance in your life. If you're doing something to the utmost, or someone else, have a one-to-one conversation with the person, because
you also have to know what to look for too. Like, there are some signs that, you want to keep an eye out for, because I can tell you from my own experience, like, when you're addicted to something, you don't feel proud about it. You don't want to share that with people. In fact, you want to hide that. People don't generally look kindly upon it because it's not generally a good thing for you. And if you start noticing that sudden changes in behavior, sleeping all the time, getting very avoidant of being around people. In my case, like, I stuffed all the bottles to the bottom of the garbage can. So if you notice your garbage can's a little heavier than usual, just maybe take a look, see if there's any bottles in it. I mean, it's simple stuff, but it if you notice it sooner, you might be able to intervene sooner. But ultimately, it's up to that person. No one's going to force them to get sober. They're going to make that choice whether you want to or not.
Mm-hmm. Just before, I'm going to end this segment very shortly because we want to bring our guest on. But, addiction can last many, many years. And a lot of times it's a lifelong disease. My father, a former, addict, he says it's not just an addiction. It's a lifelong struggle, a disease.
Yeah.
He's like, my dad hasn't touched a drug in 20 plus years, but he says it never goes away, the temptation.
No.
He just, in his mind, he thinks about all the things he stands to lose if he relapses. And that's the thing that he puts in his mind. But at one time in his life, he thought he was invincible, that he can like run through walls and, everything was just going to be able to be repaired that he destroyed. But as he got older, he realized that some marks can't be repaired. And, to leave it at that, I mean, not everything's as critical as that. Like being on your phone for a couple hours isn't as big as like a major drug addiction. But think about all those hours you could be spending time with your friends and family. Think about all the things that you stand to lose yourself.
Think about some of the positive things you could do in place of it. Like, I know this sounds dumb and preachy, but like, I'm always surprised every time I exercise, even though I know this is going to happen. I know I'm going to hate getting ready to get to do it, getting myself to whatever activity I'm doing, getting started, all suck. Halfway through, it starts to suck a little bit less. And at the end, I feel really good. And despite that, every single time I don't want to do it. Yet that quite often is a good antidote to some of the cravings that you feel with an addiction, whether it be caffeine or internet or whatever the case may be. Just getting out and getting active. I mean, we're all locked inside, which is another part of this issue that this past year has brought out. Like, just people are desperate and they look for comfort and they turn to that. Because also try not to judge people in your life if they are addicted to something. That doesn't mean you have to condone it. It doesn't mean you have to accept it. It doesn't mean you have to be soft on it. But also understand that, and if you're going through it yourself, that your body, you do things for a reason. Like, if you have an addiction, you're trying to solve a problem, and it comes from a good place. You have something wrong that is not right in your life. You feel the need to make it better. That is your temporary bridge. It's an ineffective bridge that leads to way more problems than benefits, but you are doing it in an attempt to help yourself. So the reasoning behind it, like, don't hate yourself if you are struggling with an addiction. Find help.
Yes. And one last thing. I was speaking to an old coworker, this older lady I was working with a while ago, and she was telling me, like, I'm so addicted to coffee and stuff, and I buy like 3 coffees a day, whatever, every morning. And, I decided to put that coffee money to the side for a little bit. And you know what I bought? She's like, I went on vacation. 1 year of just her coffee money that she blew. And I mean, it's just like a positive thing that she turned her.
I should do that with Gatorades.
I should do that with all the sugary drinks I drink, or all the times I go out to eat. But on a lighter note, people, we have a wonderful, talented guest tonight. Actress, model, singer, future superstar, Heather Blood. Here we go. Welcome.
Hi, I don't know.
Hey there.
Thank you. Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you doing tonight?
Good.
Very colorful.
Oh, thank you. I try.
Awesome. So it's been it's a pleasure having you on tonight.
Thank you.
I know we had you waiting a little long in the studio room.
How dare you?
I know.
I yapped a lot. I'm sorry.
So for those of you who do not know, I worked with Heather on Oath to Injustice, a feature film, and Lovelock, a short film, which actually she was my co-star. So this is exciting.
Yay.
Yep.
It's been a while.
So what was it that pushed you to becoming an artist?
Oh gosh, probably genetics. My dad is very artsy, so it got passed down directly to me. I've just always loved it, painting, drawing, everything. I love getting my hands dirty in clay. I mean, every medium I enjoy so far.
Wow.
And is that how you got onto using your face as a medium for the most part?
I guess so. I've been
Or
told
as a canvas?
that, yeah, as a canvas, pretty much. I've been told it helps if you are or have some kind of artistic background, because it's a lot of it is color theory, matching colors. I like to match things a lot. And just it's a fun canvas that, like you were saying, it is a canvas to just, I guess, express myself as well. And the funny thing is, though, is I like to look a certain way, but for the most part, I'm not the one looking at myself. It's other people.
Yeah.
So
Do you find that hard? Like I know it's different because like when you're a performer, when you're an artist, it's so hard when people see you one way, they expect you. They have their own mind set up of what you're like.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
it's funny you mentioned that because you were talking earlier about demonization and negative stereotypes. I have so many stories I could tell you about being stereotyped in a
Bring it
negative
on.
way. Oh my gosh. But I kind of understand it in a way because not a lot of people look the way I do. And
Well,
it's
what
shocking
are some of the
to some
challenges
people.
that you've run into with it?
I have been followed in many stores because the security thought I was going to shoplift just because I was wearing all black, heavy makeup and just things like that. People always think that I am angry, that because I don't smile in a lot of my pictures as well, they think I'm unhappy with my life, that I'm just not a good person in general. And it makes me sad. And I've been trying to break that stereotype in my modeling and my work in social media, that a lot of the people that I know who look more alternative are pretty happy people. So I'm
yeah.
not
Yeah.
quite sure where that comes from.
It's interesting because a few weeks ago we also had another guest on that was really amazing,
Mhm.
who has a similar philosophy, and the way she brought it about is like she's proof that you don't have to, you don't have to be so negative, and that the world, screw what they think. You're living your best life. And for the most part,
Exactly.
when I see people that, they're colorful, they're bright, they have their own sense of style, you're comfortable in your own skin to do so.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are afraid to like, oh, I'm afraid to wear that. What is everyone else going to think? And it's funny. I saw this stupid meme. I know this is off topic, but like there's a local Marshalls that just opened up where I'm from. And like everybody's going to shop. They're all excited to go there, and everyone's going to shop there, and they're going to go to the nearest club, and they're all going to be wearing the same outfit.
Yeah.
And like, people like you, it's like you stick out and your personality
I
shines.
do. Just a
So-
little bit.
But I think more people should be comfortable in their own skin to be able to do things like that.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
No,
So when
I
you're-
mean, I know from working with you, you're a very kind person. So it's
thank you.
interesting that people like they react weird ways.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Well-
because I think it's shocking. You don't see a lot of people going around dressing in unusual ways, and especially with the colorful hair and I've been called a dominatrix so many times.
That's usually the first association that people make.
Yeah, I've been called Elvira because that's the only thing they know to associate with someone who looks this way, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not all bad.
It's interesting, but you have the chance and the ability to change the name or to build your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's an awesome, I guess, goal or plan, like to make people see this look in a different light.
Yeah.
And given the fact that it is so difficult in terms of stereotypes, like, it's unavoidable. If you look different, people are going to treat you sometimes differently.
Yeah.
Given that that going into it, what's the motivation, or what about it appeals to you that makes you want to continue to dress in that way? Like, what about that particular style really suits you and really appeals to you?
I just feel like I'm most myself and I'm happiest when I look this way. And I've tried looking more quote unquote normal, and it doesn't feel right. And I don't feel as confident as I do when I'm all fancied up. So I feel like no matter what style, and there are some people in the subculture, Gothic subculture, alternative subculture, who think, well, you're not goth enough if you dress like this or if you look like that. I just think that everyone should express themselves how they want, and it's not a big deal to harp on these minor things, because people love to gatekeep and they love to say, oh well, you shouldn't be wearing that unless you know all the history behind this. And I just think people should express themselves how they want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a rule book. If you wear black, you must read this novel
You must be
first.
sad.
You must be angry. You must listen to this, hard rock 80s band.
Yeah, exactly.
No, there shouldn't be anything like that. But to go back to like one of the first statements you said is genetics and how like it was kind of built in your blood. It's interesting because a lot of my family are artists or musicians.
Me too.
They're writers. I don't know if it's something,
Yeah.
actors, I have a few cousins that are actors. It's really interesting because I kind of do believe that like I was surrounded by an atmosphere of creation.
Absolutely.
It helped me blossom my own thing. So it's cool that, I'm not alone in that and that there's others.
100%. Yeah,
No,
I
I
think
feel
that
the same.
the way you're brought up, I think, is a really key role to how you turn out in life, and especially when it comes to shaping your interests. And I love, my dad loves listening to rock and some metal, and that's what I listened to growing up. So of course I love that as an adult, and painting and drawing and all these things. I just turned it into this instead of on canvas.
That's pretty
Awesome.
cool, though. I mean, the thing that's also like pretty neat is like when you first started doing all this a few years back, it was almost all entirely like the posts that I saw you do were all
It
related
was
around
just
your
lip
lipstick.
art. Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. I started off, gosh, I think I joined Instagram in 2013, 2014, just for fun. It was actually part of a college project. My teacher pushed us to get on social media to promote our work. And I started looking through and seeing different makeup artists. And one thing which was kind of new at the time was lip art. And I thought, well, I like painting and I like lipstick, so let me try to combine the two. And that's originally how I started off, and that's what I gained notoriety for, was doing lip art and things like that. And then that kind of was what gained me a lot of my following. Was I would do these little, pictures on my lips, or I would just do another thing I was known for was my fangs. I wore vampire fangs because I'd seen a lot of people on Instagram doing lip swatches just to show the swatch color of a lipstick. But I wanted to do something different while still, bringing something a little unusual to it. So I just started doing the same thing, but with vampire fangs.
And would you like airbrush it on, or was it like?
No, they're prosthetic fangs that I custom fit to my teeth.
No, I mean for the lips.
Oh, for the lips. Yeah, I would do that. Most of the time it was simple designs at first, then I would do it all by hand.
Okay.
So it was like little tiny paint brushes from the art store that I would get and just use lipstick and eyeshadow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fun.
So I'm going to dive into your acting a little bit because I love when I have actors and actresses on there, I like to like dig deep on what really motivates them and how they get into stuff. But like, what is one of the biggest challenges with being an actress with an ever-growing pool of talented, self-promoting people online?
Just getting jobs. I mean, I'm sure everyone can say the same in this field, but I've auditioned for so many things from the beginning of before COVID, because I've only been acting for 3.5 years now. It was not my original career plan. I actually developed carpal tunnel at my desk job that I was working for several years, which ended up in me leaving that. And then I thought, I've always wanted to become an actress, so let me give that a shot. And then that kind of progressed into now, where I'm so grateful that I've been able to work with local theater groups and been in films with wonderful directors such as yourself. So
Thank you.
it's been a lot of fun, but I think that is the most challenging thing. It's really discouraging to try to put yourself out there and then just get rejection after rejection.
And as to life, though, it is discouraging, but someone like yourself and other people that I've had on the show, if they don't get the roles they want, what they do is they do their own, and
That too, yeah.
they continue to pursue.
That's why we started
their
this.
dreams. You could call this entire show the result of rejection. You're reaching out to other media sources and getting told no. The same thing with myself. I did so many auditions and in the beginning, and I was told I was too fat at one time. Wow. They didn't like my teeth, or do you ever think about changing your look or whatever? And like, I was sick of hearing that. So,
or you have a voice for radio.
Yeah,
exactly.
What does that mean?
You have a voice for radio, but a face for behind the camera.
Dog food? Is that what you mean?
So whatever it is. But I love when I hear stories about people who. It's actually interesting. A few years ago, when I did the Catskill or the Hudson Valley International Film Festival, we got this actress Naomi Grossman, who played Pepper on American Horror Story.
Oh, wow.
And when she like one of the things that we had a conversation about is like she continued getting rejection after rejection after rejection. So she created her own little like mini series to get notoriety, and then she ended up taking that mini series, putting it on YouTube, and pushing it out and used it as her reel to get other gigs. And then over time, now she's on American Horror Story, she's on other shows, so it worked out for her.
Idea.
That's awesome.
But it was like she pushed herself out there. Like you gotta, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else truly will.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought up.
That's usually the biggest struggle I find.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I asked the question about the talented self-promoting people, is because there's so many people out there now that are on like YouTube, various. They're doing 20 million other podcasts. It's like, how do you stick out from the rest? So it's great that you push yourself. So back into the acting. As an actress, what kind of roles do you like or would like to pursue?
It's hard to say because I love changing, so I want to adapt to whatever is thrown at me. I enjoy playing different characters. Like I just auditioned for something as a cheerleader, and then I auditioned for someone who had just lost, their faith that they grew up in. So I like different roles. I like being challenged, and sometimes when I see in a role description where I can connect with that, I feel like I'll be able to bring something more genuine to that role. So something that I can connect with sometimes too. It depends.
Do you ever have to make yourself cry for any of your roles?
Yeah, I had to do that recently. It was not easy.
Did you have to use any of like the menthol stuff, or were you
No.
able to kind of make it happen by yourself?
Just think of really sad things. It was funny though. I was actually in a theater show called Heroines, and I was a heroin addict, playing a heroin addict, and I had to cry on stage every night. And funnily enough, that was actually easier to do in front of, however many people were in the audience versus on a self-tape. So I'm not quite sure why that was, but
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, on a few productions I worked with like really excellent actresses and actors, and they also, they did the crying command. They're really professional, and it's not a requirement to be a good actor to be able to cry. It is great.
Yeah,
it is great. But some people can just cry in command, and they're terrible actors also. But out there they have that. What he was just talking about, the menthol stick. I remember I had
I remember you were like,
I had it does hurt after a while, but I had a really old-fashioned method actress, and she was like, I'm not gonna ever do that. That's cheating. There's nothing natural about that. But some people have a more challenging time crying on command, even though their face and everything else is screaming emotion. Tears just won't happen. And even someone like me, I could cry, yet after the 20th take, there's no more tears to cry.
Yeah.
So the menthol sticks that they do sell, they work. And the woman even she was like, yeah, this is the real deal, because we were talking about like maybe theater acting is a little different, but on camera, if you can't tell the difference and you need an even more dramatic look, it truly does work. So that's my endorsement on those tear sticks.
Burns like a mofo.
But it burns. So if you're sensitive, don't do it. And I guarantee I'm going to get some hate on me even talking about tear sticks. But
it's like putting menthol Vicks Vapor Rub underneath your eye.
Ouch. I've never heard of that before, but that does sound painful.
It sounds painful, but like I said, like if you got to do a performance 20 times in a row or extended,
or you can poke yourself in the eye. I mean, that might work.
No, don't
Pluck
do
a nose
that.
hair,
Don't. This is don't ever do. What is your process as getting into character? Oop, did I
disappearing?
That was me. Sorry. Darn it. I don't know if you got that. I was asking what your process is of getting into character.
Oh gosh. I usually like to be by myself, and I like to just kind of think of what the motivations are of the character. I feel like that's stereotypical to say, but I try to just think of, okay, they're saying this, but why are they saying this, and what's happened before to make them say this? Just try to remember that, this is a character and not just put my own thoughts and emotions into it.
No, that's good. It's interesting too, because every actor actress has some different I guess, format to how I've been around like divas in the past. You're not a diva, by the way. I've worked with Heather. She's not a diva. Hire her. She's great. Hire her. She's great. But I've worked with people before who like you couldn't speak to them. They were unapproachable, and at times they didn't want to work. Like when it came to practicing, it was like, no, only when we were about to film can we rehearse together. And some people are brave because they want that natural first interaction. But for example, let's say you and I are playing husband and wife.
Right.
It shouldn't be our first time meeting on set because we have to build some sort of chemistry.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know what I mean? Like it won't be there otherwise. Yeah. So
the first movie I worked on, I wasn't an actor in it, but I was on the art team. So I did like all the paintings and drawings that they decorated the set with. And then after that, I volunteered to help out with just like, set design and whatever. But it was the same thing there. Like the main actor of the film had his little office or room because we filmed in a giant mansion, basically down outside of Philadelphia. It was like a 14-room mansion. We fully furnished the place and everything. But the entire month that we were up there, I think we said a whole of maybe 3 words together, despite me trying to say hi, like nothing, just a hi, boom.
Maybe you're just being unapproachable.
He just needs to. They said he just needs to focus. Like that's his way of acting. That's just what he does.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own way, but
everyone's different.
It does make it challenging if you're the other actor, and that's not your way of doing things. And you're like oil. You're like oil and water. There is things that are distracting on set. And for me personally, when people aren't prepared for the roles they take on,
that bugs me so much.
Like for example, as a director and also an actor, I do both sides. You have to be prepared for what you sign up for. If I give you a script and you have a few months to prepare, on set, you should not know your lines. Like I'll have the script nearby to reference. That's okay. But not even prepared. Like you don't know how to say a word. It sounds ridiculous. It really does. But there is actors out there that can't read.
And working as a director of photography on the other end of the camera with my face right behind the lens going, why are you making my life suck right now?
I've seen that. I have seen that look.
What are some things on set you really can't stand? Like that. Like this?
Oh gosh, I cannot stand when people are when I always try to be professional and be prepared because I feel like that's just a courtesy to everyone. Like you were saying, Stefan, you're wasting everyone's time if you're not prepared. Not just your time, but everyone else's, especially if you're renting out a studio and charging by the hour. It's not great,
time is like, people don't realize that, like, even on a small independent production, okay, like even where the actors might be volunteering their time.
Yeah.
Remember, all these actors are coming from different places that they might be taking off of work.
The place you're filming, you have to
they're volunteering their time, yet they could be working another gig. So their time mentally is money. They're there. Camera people typically are money. Sound is typically money. Location, food. You're talking about expenses and time that you'll never get back. And then there's people like that can't read or didn't understand like what they were doing, and they didn't ask they didn't ask the questions beforehand. And like, I'm sorry if I'm taking over it's just frustrating. But like during like COVID too, you're dealing with a different world.
Yeah.
So saying you can't rehearse to me is no longer an excuse with things like Zoom.
Yeah, especially Zoom.
Things like, FaceTime. You and I, we rehearsed weekly for a short film, and we did it through FaceTime. Simple as that, people. There's no excuse to not be prepared for a role, or
really isn't.
You get to set during a COVID production and like, you don't allow your temperature to be taken. It's like unacceptable to me.
Why?
But it happens, and it's bizarre.
I forgot about that.
Yep. Yeah, it happens, but it is what it is. People, but just know during this time, things have changed, and you have to be wary of your surroundings and what.
How has it changed in terms of auditioning now that with COVID? Has it gotten slower, like the amount of auditions that are available, or?
I mean, for me, it's about the same. I'm on backstage a lot. There's a lot of jobs. Just the thing is, for me, I'm not right for all of them. It depends on location, gender, skin tone. So it just depends on that. That's what kind of cuts the jobs in half for me a lot of the time. But other than that, it's pretty much been the same. I mean, I've been doing all my self tapes since March of last year now, so I'm just used to it.
What editing do you use, or what
I
program?
use Final Cut Pro.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe there's like an overwhelming pressure for people coming into the industry to take on questionable roles, like you knew or when you first started? Like, because I know for like me, when I first auditioned for roles or try to get into any type of production, like you're going to be like doing things that were ridiculous. Like I had like a jock strap on my face, or crawling around in mud, or being like the doofus. You know what I mean? I've heard a lot of women say the same thing. Like
I'd pay to see
they
that.
got involved. Yeah, when they get involved with films, they're like offered things that were like lower end. I don't know. Like,
I mean, not so much. I don't know if this may be the case for both, but for me, a lot of the times it's nudity. There's a lot of pressure to do nudity, especially for women, especially starting out, because it's seen as like, oh, well, if you do this, then I'll cast you in more
Casting
things.
couch, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I see that too. But what I think it is also they're feeding on to people's naivety.
Absolutely.
You know, you're new, you're going to be a star, right? Like,
just do this. Yeah.
Yeah, like you want to be a star, don't you? Like,
you'll do anything, right?
Yeah, and like
come into my
they'll
office.
do it. Like they'll do it definitely. And what I say to that, like to anybody watching, like if you're willing to do nudity or even like a sex scene in a film, you have to know if it's worth it, because once you're nude on screen, you're nude forever.
Yeah,
forever. Whether
Especially
you
the
become,
internet, and that goes for OnlyFans and everything else. Once you put your tatas out or whatever bits you put
and
out,
listen, I'm all about
out.
it. If it's an art form too, like if it's a beautiful, like if you read the script and it's really necessary, like I love movies, I love TV shows, but I don't know how many times I'm on HBO, Cinemax, or whatever watching a show,
especially.
I sit there and I say, this is totally unnecessary nudity.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, like, do we really need to throw in a 20-minute orgy on this series?
No, like, yeah, like if you want that.
Oh, the Gladiator, the Spartacus one, it was like the fighting scenes are awesome, but then it was like intermission with sex. Like, oh, okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's a right and a wrong time to do it, and maybe I'm wrong. People like raunchy stuff, but I think like once you put yourself out there, like I said, you can't take it back. So you got to be really, especially if you're volunteering or you're not getting paid like money for a nude role, you know, and they're not putting the effort. Like, look at the director's track record. Does he finish his projects, or are you just going to have, you know, a nude scene on one of his reels?
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's very important to be careful of what you say, and that goes for any type of role, not just that. The things you say and the things
how do you
do
filter out the phony ads, like for people who are, because a lot of times they're not just like flat out asking like, hey, want to do naked pictures? Like quite often it's kind of like, hey, come in for an audition. Like, are there ways to spot it so that you don't run into those situations?
Typically for me, one of the nice things about Backstage is that they filter out spam and scams as much as they can. But I just look for the way things are phrased in the, auditions. If the grammar isn't right, the spelling, that's been one of the tip-offs for me, because it's not professional.
Yeah.
No.
But other than that, it depends.
Good point.
Currently,
and if it's on Craigslist,
Craigslist isn't like it was back in the day. It's like they collapsed their own system on themselves. Not to even get into it, but fun fact about Craigslist is for people posting ads, you have to pay now.
Do you really?
Yeah. Well, because back in the day when I first started creating film, Craigslist was a great place to find other filmmakers.
And then it became like the online back page, basically.
Yeah.
Well, they have that, but they're for people selling stuff or looking for any sort of photographer or videographer.
I got my inversion table off of Craigslist. I mean,
Craigslist
still is good.
Was the place to be, but now you have to pay a few dollars per ad. So yeah, not really the greatest anymore, but I don't want to get blacklisted for saying that for all the people who love Craigslist and all the
Yeah, I know, right?
creepy stuff on there. But so you're a singer.
Indeed,
And
yes.
is there a place where people can find your music currently?
A little bit. I do have some singing videos on my YouTube channel. It was funny. Before COVID, I started taking voice lessons and I wanted to become more of an opera singer, sing for weddings, churches. And I just started to do that, then COVID. So
my goodness.
I actually got permission to sing in a church and I did some opera in there, and that can be found in my YouTube channel.
That's pretty awesome. Is like pursuing like music, like writing, is it something that like you have an album that you're planning in the works or something like that?
No.
No, not yet.
I've tried writing music. I'm not as good at it as I am singing, so I feel like that's where I should focus more of my attention, but I'm not, closed off to the idea. Maybe one day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what artists inspire you?
Oh gosh. Well, the first thing I think of is Hugh Jackman. Have you guys seen The Greatest Showman at all?
Oh yeah, he's my favorite. He's like one of
I
my
haven't
favorites.
seen that, but I love Hugh Jackman.
He's amazing.
Hugh Jackman in the movie The Fountain is one of my top 3 movies.
Don't know The Fountain.
The Fountain. The Fountain is a film directed by Darren Aronofsky. He directed Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, nice.
A bunch of other amazing films.
That was a really good movie too.
The Fountain is like, just people, if you haven't seen The Fountain, just see it.
Watch
It's a spiritual masterpiece. You'll cry. You'll feel enlightened by the end. You'll just fall in love with Hugh Jackman. And Hugh Jackman is amazing.
That's a guaranteed.
Listen, I'm not gay, but
he's a big hunk of an Aussie.
I think Hugh Jackman is a good looking man.
He is indeed, and he can sing.
And he can sing really well too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what advice would you?
Showman, for sure.
What advice would you give to an inspiring model looking to aspiring model looking to enter the industry?
Oh gosh,
see,
it's funny though, because modeling is such a diverse world where there's print modeling, there's commercial, there's online, there's so many different forms of it now. And originally, like you were saying, how you kind of create your own dreams or what you want to do. I started off, always wanted to runway model, but I'm too short. I'm 5'4", the cutoff is 5'7", so I'll never be on a runway. But I actually made my own runway and I posted that on my TikTok, and where I just put the outfits together. I edited it so it looked like there were multiple me's walking and showing all the outfits. And so I got to have my little dream as my own little runway project. But as far as giving advice, it depends on what medium you want to go into when it comes to modeling, because the most typical one is print, and that means you need to have an agent and a portfolio and, pay money to have, your certain look that you have to kind of advertise yourself to whatever brands
the height limit.
With you. Yeah. So for me, I wanted to do that at first, but then I thought, well, that I kind of get boxed in to like having one specific style, and I like to change it up a lot of the times. So I just started taking my own pictures, and when it comes to Instagram, everyone can be a model for the most part if you have a camera and if you know how to pose. That's a great way to start. And that way, especially now with how big social media is, you can get brands to notice you and work with you. That's how I got a lot of my brand deals that I use on my YouTube channel, and how I get paid a lot of the time is brands reach out to me. They say, hey, I like your content. Will you wear our clothing? So that's kind of how it started. And I tagged brands that I really liked. Like I would buy a piece from one brand I really wanted to work with. They'd see that. They liked that I supported them. And then they'd say, hey, we want to send you some more things to model and we'll pay you.
That's a good idea.
So like I noticed that you post a lot and you have a lot of you have a lot of content. And listen, I'm not gonna lie when I say like you kind of inspire me as far as anything that has to do with being online, as far as pushing myself, because I'm like, even as hard as I move, I'm like, this girl's pushing out stuff. Like, what does a typical work day look like for you when it comes to like, I mean, for those of you who don't know, like you got a pretty size following on YouTube and elsewhere. You could say all your other things at the end. Yeah. So, but like, how do you, yeah, like what does your typical work day look like to push this?
What's your secret?
Yeah, I try to take it easy because I will work myself to death, and I've done that before, and it's not good because I always feel like I need to, it's the constant pressure of making new content and putting new things out there. And for the most part, what I try to do is things in batches because my main social media is Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So what I try to do in a week is I try to film at least 2 YouTube videos, 6 TikToks, and then maybe some various Instagram pictures as well. And then the problem is trying to edit all of that to get it
Yeah,
up because the
that's why
editing
my
is
eyes
the
are like popping out
longest
of my head.
part. Yeah. It could take 3 hours to edit a 20-minute video.
And is it something that you do like within a day, or is this spread out throughout the week? Like,
Depends how I'm feeling. Like the other day, this week, I managed to film 5 TikToks and 2 YouTube videos in one day. So I had all my filming done. Then I had to spend the rest of the week editing all of it. So,
wow, that's interesting because I know a lot of people that they want to be like a YouTube star. They want to be an influencer.
yeah.
Yet they're not willing to put in the work. So like, it's interesting. Like, hey, like you're letting them know, like it's work.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Like
No.
I have a channel, but I haven't been as up on it as I need to be, and I'm looking into doing more this year with YouTube than I have
Yeah.
previously. Just because I mean it's the first source that I go to watch just about anything. I don't even watch TV.
You can learn anything on YouTube now.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
I love tutorials, and I feel like I'm a good teacher. So I've been filming a lot of stuff, but I haven't
That's
put it
awesome.
out yet because I'm just like, I got to be consistent. Am I going to be able to do that?
Yeah, I remember when I first started out, I started my channel probably 5 years ago, and it's taken me at least 4 to 5 years to gain the following that I have now. But it was, like you were saying, a lot of consistency. At the time, I worked a 9 to 5 job, and then I would come home and film and edit. And I had to give up a lot of my social life. I didn't see my friends and my family because I was making sure every day I had something to post.
Do you oh,
It's
sorry.
impressive.
Thanks.
Do you think that?
Hellish.
So, I'm sorry if I keep cutting you off.
It's okay.
Do you think that there's like a sacrificial curve when doing something like this?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
What do you
I
mean
find-
sacrificial curve?
absolutely.
I've when you push yourself to the limit and you try to balance it, like this year for me, doing this podcast once a week, you're talking about 2-hour podcasts, every
It
week.
takes a toll on your voice.
So it's 16, 16 hours, but then you're writing still, and you're doing films, and you're doing festivals still.
And working, and
It takes you away from your friends, family, relationships, and a lot of people won't stick around for the ride. A lot of people won't, it isn't for them. I know a lot of other artists that like the hustlers. They say it's lonely at the top. Like it takes a lot out of people. Have you ever like personally felt that like it's tough? I mean, it might be deeper than you wanted to go, but have you ever felt like something like that when it comes to being as time? It's a big
it definitely
commitment.
takes a toll on relationships, but I'm very lucky and thankful that the friends that I have and the family that I have around me, they understand, and they will be like, all right, I know you have to get work done. Go get work done. We'll see you when you're free. So I know not everyone has that, so I'm really thankful for that.
Did it take a while for your family to, because I mean, if you're suddenly start doing something like this, it takes up a huge portion of time.
Yeah.
And if you change the way you dress, which I'm assuming at some point you had to suddenly be
was
like,
a
hey
big-
guys, by the way, this is what I like.
This is me now.
Like, how did that process go about?
It was a bit of I'm trying to figure out. It was definitely a change, especially for my parents, because I was raised in a very conservative Catholic family. And
That's where we met, was a Catholic group.
Oh yeah. But even then, in the Catholic group, everyone was really nice and sweet, especially Luigi. He was always very accepting, so I appreciated that. But for the most part, I remember my dad, the first time I went out in public wearing a lot of makeup, an outfit, and a wig, he was like, I don't want to be seen with you. He's like, what are you doing? Which I completely understand. Like, this is strange. This is not normally you. What's happening? But as time has gone on, he's gotten more used to it. And my mom especially has been so wonderful and supportive. She didn't understand it at first. Like most people, she thinks, goths or Satanists, or, what's happening? Are you trying to kill everyone? All these strange things. So just trying to explain and, Be like,
Be
look,
like, I'm not evil because I
I'm
like black
still
clothes.
me. I just like dressing in a different way. It's just,
Heather is breaking the taboo, people. Breaking
tempting
the
to.
taboo.
Taboozle.
You know. So like when creating content, like how do you figure out what is going to be a hot content? You go with the trends, or you have to like try to like push yourself, challenge yourself to like create something.
And how do you come up with hashtags for all of it?
See, the nice thing with Instagram now is if you start typing something, it'll show you how many posts are under each hashtag. So for me, I found that the most effective ones are under 20,000. If you have something that's under 20,000 posts on it, use that one, because then you're more likely to be seen. Whereas if you choose something with 100,000 posts, you're going to get lost in the shuffle.
Where in Instagram does it show you that?
If you type in your description when you're writing out your caption, it should pop up, and then it'll show you, like right next to it, it'll say 30.6K or whatever the number is for what you're typing.
That's what that number is.
Yes.
She's giving away secrets, people.
Trade secrets. But one thing I've noticed though with Instagram, and if you want to get good engagement, is if you're posting videos, don't just post a regular video, post a reel, because Instagram is pushing those. And if you, speaking of trade secrets, if you use the hashtags explore reels or reels Instagram, that'll help boost your Instagram. I saw someone using that, and I was like trying to tell everyone, like, guys, if you want more views, just do this. And I was really happy to see that actually worked for a couple of people I told that to.
Yep.
So,
And then the algorithm
reels.
learns and be like, new rule.
Yeah, exactly. In a couple of years that'll be gone, but yeah. But when it comes to trying to figure out what's trendy, YouTube, I struggle a little bit because I feel like for the amount of subscribers I have, my views are not proportional at all. I have, I think, something like 50,000, and I'll get 1 to 2,000 views if I'm lucky. So it really depends, but YouTube, I haven't quite cracked the algorithm for that yet. But TikTok is a lot easier. With TikTok, a lot of things like hashtags or the trends on there are really big. If dance trends, you can do acting trends on there. There's actually a really big acting platform and community on TikTok, which is really nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of people doing acting challenges, sharing their audition stories, how to be a better actor and prepare for auditions. That's the thing I love about TikTok, is there's something on there for everyone. So no matter what your interest is, it's going to be on there.
And it has the interesting ability compared to some of the other ones to stop and start recording. It seems like that makes it a lot easier just to edit it in the program itself. Because having to chop stuff apart and then stick it back together, put transitions and everything in between without having to think about it is a lot easier.
Absolutely.
What do you what is like one of the things that you find that was a major success on your platforms?
So one thing that I actually noticed last year, of course, when quarantine happened, I was inside. I thought, well, why don't I give this TikTok thing a try? So I started to gain quite a following on there. And one thing that surprised me was there was this trend where you walk around, and I think the sound was something like, every couple of phrases it would say, "You got it." So I used that, and thinking that 5 people would see it, I used that sound and I said something along the lines of, if you need help talking to your parents about how you want to dress in a different way but you're not sure how to, or if you need style advice, you got it, I got you. And that video now has a little over 500,000 views, which is insane to me. And because of that, I had so many young boys, girls, teenagers everywhere reaching out to me saying, I want to talk to my parents. How do I do this? And along with that, surprisingly, I wasn't expecting this to happen, but with my platform, especially on Instagram, I get a lot of troubled teens, just people who aren't comfortable with themselves, and they reach out to me for advice. And I'm not a therapist, and I do what I can to help them, but I was just so surprised by that people are reaching out to me saying, can you help me? Basically they want to be like me, which is very strange, but also very sweet. So that was a big thing that was very unexpected, but I think that's amazing that I'm able to help people like that. Cool.
I find it like it's so interesting how people, once you get to that level, I feel like it's like in psychology, it's like, what is it? Your high point where your self-realization, where you kind of reach, maybe not reached where you want to be, but when people are starting to reach to you for assistance when you still are growing.
Yeah.
And
I've
had
had
that
as a result of this podcast, even.
Yeah, I've had that happen as well, where like people like will ask me for suggestions about
Aw.
things, and I'm like, why are you asking me? Like, I don't have any of the
You got your
answers.
shit together, right?
But they and
Sure.
I guess my image they really think I do, but it's interesting. I definitely understand that point, but yeah, I'm not a therapist, but
Yeah.
in a way, it makes you feel like you're doing something right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Was there ever a time where like you've publicly, whether it was through a video or something, you've made a mistake where you were like, man, I wish I could go back and like totally
Not have done that.
you know?
Well, it was curious. There was this one thing I was very passionate in the beginning about doing makeup reviews, and I did this video about private labeling versus, I think, just general manufacturing. And I did my research, and I did the best I could at the time, but that video got a lot more attention than I was expecting. And looking back over it now, I cringe a little bit because I could have done better. So something like that, where it's like, it's out there, I could take it down, but I feel like that also helps show growth too, because I love going back to see certain people and seeing like their old videos and be like, oh, that's where they started, I can start there too. And then you see the gradual increase in quality and all of that.
That's definitely, there's actually a YouTuber that I follow. His name's Chris Stuckerman. He does like movie reviews, and
Oh, nice.
for whatever reason, his movie reviews, he reminds me of myself because he likes the same type of movies. I trust in his word. But the thing is, as you were saying, he was saying similar things. Like he had such embarrassing, cringe-worthy first videos, like when YouTube was first getting popping.
Everyone does.
My first videos that I
And-
put on YouTube, I'm like, and I don't have that many up yet. I've only got like 20 or 30 videos or something like
That's
that.
a lot.
But the first ones I put up were like, like
Yeah.
in terms of sophistication.
But the guy's grown so much. Like, oh my goodness, keep on doing this shit. Hello.
I'm
Sorry.
back.
The heck?
Oh, now Charles is
Bye bye, Charles.
well, Stefan, you are now the host of this show.
Welcome to the Thursday.
Congratulations. You've been promoted.
I'm gonna give you a hyperventilation attack over there.
Oh, there he is.
Oh my! It's stupid.
Welcome to the show.
I try to be prepared, and I end up screwing up everything.
Oh, it's all good.
But yeah, like I wouldn't know where to start with YouTube, and I'm always trying to learn. It's great having guests on here that are able to learn. But it's what, yeah, YouTube it. That's what it is. But like I said, what I was saying about the guy Chris Stuckerman, his videos started off like very low quality. He had like really cheesy backgrounds, kind of like me right now with just the white background. But I mean, like over time, like he invested in a good mic, and his content's better. He has like all these things popping up on his screen. It just shows you how the evolution of his channel. And now he's got over 1 million subscribers and stuff like that. But it's exciting to see people's growth. So I definitely see that, how you can go back and.
Yep. Your editing has gotten a lot better over the years too.
Thank you. I love editing. It's one of my favorite things to do, especially transitions. That's one of my favorite things on TikTok.
TikTok is definitely a market that's really popular. Is that like something that you like finding, like, because this is like a new trend? Do you think like places like Facebook, YouTube are kind of like they need to get their shit together and create something, a new vibe, or they're perfect in the market they are now?
Well, I wouldn't say they're perfect, but nothing really is. I think TikTok just has a bigger audience. I mean, there's something crazy like billions of users on there. And the only bad thing though is with TikTok, especially for me, I don't post anything really inappropriate on there, but the main audience, I think, can range anywhere from 9 to 13, and it's mostly young kids, which is fine, but it's just I'm not used to that being my that's not my target audience. I'm not trying to reach 9-year-olds.
Yeah, that would I'd say like that would be challenging for me. Like even with this podcast, like there's nothing that we talk about that would be
Interesting.
I want to say interesting to a kid or even child friendly. Like
Yeah.
we sometimes say crazy things. But I mean, that's for adults. But
Yeah.
originally when Facebook started, what was it, like 13 or something like that? You had to be like 13 or
Was it
16. It was,
13?
I don't know what it
Something like
was,
that.
but I know it was like an older audience. They wanted like,
Yeah.
it was meant for like college kids.
Yeah.
But then it
Facebook
became
was for
high
college
school.
kids.
Then it was like high school, and now like children are on here.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I guess it's all
And
great.
grandmas. It's weird having a grandma and a 2-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
It's like one of
playing
those
around
things with Facebook when it first started, like nobody added like their family. Like I remember I was living at home, and like my dad friend requested me, and he was like downstairs. And I was like,
Dad,
I don't
no.
want dad to see what I'm posting. I mean, now I don't live with dad, so I'm happy. I would love him to watch my show or just,
Aw.
post. But like, it's always that weird first step with social media of like who you
Yeah.
add and who sees the
Or-
true you.
in my case, like on Facebook, when it first came out, I didn't know about business pages and I was just starting with photography, didn't really know anything about marketing. So I just said, oh, friends of friends, add. Now I've got like so many people on my list and I'm like,
Who
where
are
do I
you?
know you from?
So over this past nearly hour, we have a lot of people commenting. A lot of people are saying they love your hair.
Oh, I can't
um,
see. Can I see the chat on stream? No, I can't. Okay.
I think once it's posted, you'll be able to see it on.
Okay. Well, hi everybody. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
they're loving it. Hi
I'm
all.
so sorry I can't see your comments.
Love the snorts. The snort is adorable.
That's me.
Yeah. Love your mom. Maybe they know you.
That's BJ, isn't it? Hi,
Yeah,
BJ.
BJ.
Love your mom.
People are saying YouTube is hard. So get on TikTok. Yeah, there's a lot here. You're phenomenal with
I'm
kids.
horrible at reading comments. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of them. I guess you're gonna have to watch, read them after there. But like, thank you guys for really getting engaged tonight. We really like that.
That's cool.
And commenting. So like, what is next, Heather? You got a million things going on, but what is next? What is your next challenge?
Gosh, I've been asked a little bit about this, but I would love to create my own merch. And I've been trying to come up with some designs for that. And I'm getting a logo made, which I'm really excited for. So I'm hoping at some point this year I'll be able to do something along those lines because I love clothing and I have a bit of a fan base. So hopefully they would like my designs to buy them and wear them.
Wow, that's really amazing.
That's awesome, man.
I really am excited to see what you come up with next and how you promote yourself, and just it's going to be crazy. I mean,
so where can people find you?
Yes, that's what I was going to.
So I made it simple for all of my social media. It's all under the same name. I'm Vessel of Blood on all platforms, unless it's on Tinder. Then that's not me.
Good to know.
I have been impersonated on dating apps before, and it's very frustrating.
Oh,
Can't say
wow.
I've had that privilege.
The weirdest thing
Stefan.
was that somebody actually reached out and told me, "Hey, I'm pretending to be you." What? Okay, why?
Yeah, that to me, like, I have a really crazy
That's
story
like
about
a
that.
stalker.
It's stalker, but it's bad. It's like, to me, it's identity theft.
Yeah.
It could ruin your reputation and stuff like that. So,
and that's the thing, is someone thinks that they're talking with you, and then they say something nasty like, "Oh, well, I met her once, and she said this really nasty thing to me." I'm like, that's not me.
Like getting my account hacked once a few years ago.
Oh,
all of a
gosh.
sudden, all of my mom's church friends were messaging me like, "Why would you post this stuff?" I'm like, "Whoa!
That wasn't me.
man, nobody wants to be me. Nobody's ever impersonated me. Darn
No,
it.
this wasn't
I'll
an
be you, Charles.
impersonation.
You
This
can
was
wear my
just
wig.
somebody got on my account and posted dirty pics, and I was like,
No, definitely don't do that.
"Mm-mm." That was bad.
Amazing.
I was at Gold's Gym, and I get out, and I'm like,
What
Oh, no.
happened?
So-
"Oh man."
So an update here tonight, because like a lot of people have been asking, a lot of people have been saying, what's going on with Oath to Injustice? What's going on with Lovelock? Well, what I tell people is, and I've been telling them is, the pandemic happened, the movie theaters were closed. I didn't want to just release this movie solely online.
Yeah.
I have a film festival, virtual film festival, that actually a month from now is the Catskill International Film Festival. It's free of charge. You go on the website, CatskillFilmFest.com. You can watch movies from all over the world, and we have some of the best films this year. Yet, I'm not going to release the movie on there. So I'm looking to do a film premiere this July for
Amazing.
both of those films, doing a double feature. And hopefully the restrictions for movie theaters opens where we can have
I'm
a
excited to
decent
see it.
size audience. Because right now, you know, I think the theaters are at 33% or 35%. So, you know, it depends. But a lot of those 33% still have a max of 50 people. That's nothing. I'm used to
What is that,
Full
like
houses.
6.5 people?
yeah, like I'm used to a few hundred people watching the movie all at once. And that's the goal.
That's
Yet
okay.
I think one way or another, we're going to have at least a cast and crew premiere before a world premiere, because until the theaters are open 100%, like I want to have a great opening night. So for
Of
those of
course.
you wondering, yes, I said it. I'm looking to do a premiere this summer in July.
That would be amazing.
It will be awesome. The films are coming out great. They're great. And you can see Heather in both of them. So Lovelock and Oath to Injustice. So it's going to be a very exciting summer, to say the least. And Heather, it's been great having you.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
good to talk to you again.
I
been a
hope
pleasure.
everybody follow Heather.
Can we get a snort?
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
So that was our episode tonight. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We sure did.
See you next week.
Follow Heather, and please, if you know anybody out there for the Catskill International Film Festival that has a film, tell them to submit. Listen, you don't got the cash? We will offer waivers. We want your films. We don't want any reason for you to not send your masterpiece in.
And if you would like to be a guest on the show, reach out to us. I mean, just ask.
Yeah, we have fun doing this. We have fun interrogating our guests. We interrogated Heather tonight. No, not really. We had a great time. But guys, you know somebody that wants to be involved in the show? Like Stefan said, we're all open. We're all ears.
Just message us on Facebook or whatever. I mean, we're really pretty casual with that kind of stuff. So just send us a message.
And with the Catskill International Film Festival, I'm reiterating this again, it is free of charge. This year, we are urging all participants who watch films to vote. Vote for your favorite films. Best picture, best audience choice. There's going to be a lot of categories this year to vote for on CatskillFilmFest.com. So thank you guys. Till next time. See you next week, beautiful people.
See you next week.